First order of business is to take a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
First, second?
Second.
Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, first application for zoning variance by Ed and Julie Martin for a request for variance to allow an accessory structured utility shed in the front yard. Will you please stand up, state for the record, and state your case, please.
Edward J. Martin.
I'm Julie Martin, and we're here tonight because we live on a corner lot, and our house faces east, and our side yard actually faces to the south, and that side yard by city ordinance is considered also a front yard, so it's as if we have two front yards. So technically, we're not putting it out the front door of our house in the front, we're actually putting it off to the side. We have a deep lot, so we sit way far back off the curb, probably by 100 feet at least. And also we have, flowering shrubbery that's 6-8 feet tall that actually borders that entire side yard. So it really isn't going to be seen by the neighbors to the south or the neighbors behind us because there is shrubbery or bushes.
This is the one you have?
I'm sorry?
That's the one you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same siding as the house and stuff, you know.
Yeah, we have, it's pretty much the house as far as the lighting, the roof color, there's a window in it, so I'm having a flower box put underneath the window, and, no, I mean, there's gonna be aesthetically, it's gonna look very nice, and it's gonna match the house.
Okay, wait a minute, I gotta do something first, before we want any further. I should read the standards.
Oh, yeah.
The zoning board of appeals shall not recommend a variance from the regulations of this ordinance unless it shall make written findings based on evidence presented to it in each specific case and all standards for hardship set forth below are met. The property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted only under the conditions allowed by regulations in the district within the property. Light of the owner is due to unique circumstances such that the enforcement of this ordinance would result in practical difficulties or impose exceptional hardship due to special and unusual conditions which are not generally found in other properties in the same zoning district. The variance, if granted, will not be substantial detriment to adjacent property. The proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light to adjacent properties or substantially increase the congestion in the street, increase the danger to public safety, substantially impair property values within the neighborhood. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to other property and improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located and will not overcrowd the land or create new concentration of population. We're supposed to meet those before we can recommend to the city council to grant it.
Right.
Okay, that being said, Dan, do you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Bill?
No, I've looked at it several times and it looks fine to me.
You are going to meet the requirements to keep it off the property line?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I
Just the fact that it's in the north front yard.
That house, yeah, the house behind us just sold, and we recently had it surveyed, so the state's already been there. And then our bushes sit 5 feet in from the property line, and it's gonna be inside of that, and so it's gonna be at least 7 to 10 feet inside the property line from the west end.
I've talked to the neighbor already that bought the place next to us there, and he says no problem at all.
And also you came around and to the south, in between the bushes, which the bushes sit back a good 3 feet off the curb. There's approximately 41 feet in between, and so we'll center that in between there, so it'll be, 13 feet off. And the bushes.
So it's perfectly in that yard then?
I'm sorry.
So it's perfectly centered in the yard then?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's the X in this picture.
Yes,
That's the X in that picture.
yeah, it's gonna go, yes, exactly.
Okay.
8 feet from the rear property line, okay.
Okay, Tricia, do you have anything to add?
No, I took a look at it too. I thought it looked fine.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak in opposition to this request?
Say, Matt, what's your opinion, what is staff's opinion?
It's gonna definitely meet setback requirements, based on what they, have submitted, with the building permit. I mean, that was the only other thing that we would require, which is that requirement on, having a corner lot.
Corner lot.
By code, so.
Vince, do you have anything to say?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, nobody in opposition? Would somebody like to make a motion?
No, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this variance and allow that shed to be placed on that property.
Do I hear a second?
Recommend.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You have anything, Vince?
Aye.
Aye, sorry. Okay, we are just a recommendationary board. We don't make the decision, the city council does.
Okay.
They will accept it or reject it at the next city council meeting, which is when, Matt?
January 18th.
Yeah, I think you're right.
January 5th.
January 5th, it's the same
Tuesday
room,
of the month.
same room, 7 o'clock?
So we come back.
Yeah, it would be wise to be
Okay,
here.
yeah.
Just in case, it's usually not a problem, but every once in a while.
Okay.
They have surprises.
Okay.
Better safe than sorry.
Do I just leave space?
They like an audience, you know. Okay, request for, request to construct a garage. Okay, need to stand up, state your name for the record, and state your case, please.
Yes, Michael Olander. So our garage was destroyed during the big storm with Rachel, and so it's completely gone. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to rebuild, but we want to extend it west to make it a little bit bigger. So what we'd like to do is just basically use that east foundation where the old garage sat to rebuild, and so that's why.
Is it on the property line?
It's about 3.5 feet off the property line.
Are you sure of that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I sure it. And
Well, I
the stakes
mean-
are in the back.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but you know where the stakes are?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's inside the stake line.
Yeah, I've got a, actually went and, the survey doc, so there's pins in the back and then there's also pins in the front. So, these are front there and then the back. So it's all,
Okay,
It's
so it'll be
all
about
stakes.
3 feet inside.
yep.
How far off the back?
3.5 feet.
So it's 3.5 off the side.
Oh, off the back, it's, that's, I mean, that's well, yeah, that's well over 5 feet.
Okay. So basically you just need inside yard setback.
By the way, the house looks great.
Thank you,
You're doing a good job with that.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Dan, you have any questions or concerns? Bill?
I'm good with it.
I'm just curious, how tall is it gonna be, or how, with it?
How tall is the garage?
Yeah.
Well, what we want to do is, we want to basically match the character of the house.
Okay.
So, you know, basically have the same siding, make it more of like a, you know, turn the century antique sort of garage. it's not gonna be that tall, but we wanna make it a little bit higher, so it matches proportionally in the house.
No, I'm good.
Okay, is there anybody to speak in support or opposition to this?
I don't have an opposition, but I do have a couple of questions about the procedures that they're gonna be taking.
Stand up, state your name. Ask your question.
Steve Grubb, I'm co-owner of the apartment building that's adjacent to the east side of this property. We have our concerns that, it is closer to the lot line than, I'm no engineer, but I just wanted to make sure that all of these, lines that are being brought in are laid out, so I know for sure that he is within this side of that lot line. I don't know just if the city engineer goes out and verifies how this process works.
Did you get some sort of survey or something like that? Did you show
Yeah, I
that?
got a survey, and then actually, Mike, my neighbor here, had surveyed it back, so we do know where it ends up on the front and back.
Do you have that with you?
You got this.
Yeah, do you want to see it?
Yeah.
It's a public document.
Well, wait a minute. Can you run a string from the front to the back?
Oh, yeah.
Unobstructed?
There's metal pins in the front and back.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Does it run it, does it have to go around any of your bushes or anything like that?
No, yes, it should be.
Okay, come on up and see this.
Discover of your neighbor.
Okay, this is.
How are you? Great.
Yeah, this would be all of it. Here's the satellite view.
What year is that house? 1900, okay.
What year is yours? Now, the satellite view I have from the paperwork I got from your staff. Is yours?
Pardon me?
Yeah, that's what it is. I don't have that.
Okay.
1906.
Is that an original horse siding one?
No, there it is.
I don't think that's true. Is this you want to outline?
There's the thing, there's down here.
See, I'm just saying, like, on this here, I don't know who draws this line in here, but your lot is actually shorter than mine. I don't know if this is my pin, I think this is my
Yeah, it's
pin
actually,
here.
there's.
Your pin is something here.
We're right.
So I'm thinking by this one here.
Who does go out and do the surveying? Is it Tom?
Intersecting all of them, but.
The city engineer?
From front to the back, that's all.
Who does?
There are companies that do that.
So you got, they
Surveying
hire,
thing.
they hire.
So sometimes you say, yeah, you got to survey.
Yeah.
Not very often.
Right on your side. If in fact this is your back lot line, I don't know. who
You have a couple kids peddling papers? You have a couple kids peddling papers?
No, this is the neighbor kids.
This would be.
I do have a couple of kids. 4 and 7.
Okay,
It's pretty young.
it looked like the kids' paper kids' picture was being taken in your front yard. But, you know, because I could see the houses across the street.
And there.
You know, 617 Illinois Avenue.
Mike is a shorter piece of property
So-
than only.
Like 2 blocks south of Handy Foods on the river.
Well, it's gonna be, still gonna determine the side yard. It should be on the side yard.
Right, but, yeah, it looked like the picture was, they were in your yard, but it was hard to tell because the picture was taken kind of a distance from us. But I thought, maybe those are your kids.
I got water off of
But
Your
the,
neighbors are doesn't drain directly
But I-
onto your line, so you always make sure.
the
that
girl
it's
is my favorite person.
on their property. Because the city don't need to get
She's
involved.
very good at it.
Somebody builds a garage and it drains on your property, so I don't like it. And you're gonna say, well, gee, it's just a drip, what's your problem, you know? City shouldn't be involved. Is our-
We can't turn anything back.
We're just discussing where the line is. He wants to make sure that it's,
I'm gonna call.
this line, this pin should all be determining the side yard. It may not determine the exact back yard. I'm
That's why I
saying if
asked
they
him,
wanna,
was gonna stake it out, put strings and everything, so we know exactly
we
where.
run the string,
Well, it's not.
tell where it's at.
I can't go on his property and run a string from one guy's lot to the.
Go ask him the last time. That's what I'm gonna
But when they
suggest.
build a garage, do they not stake it out and show? That's not done.
They wouldn't do that.
It doesn't, you know, but what I'm saying is, I was gonna suggest that he gets a line from the two ends
One on two.
to
Awesome.
determine the actual property.
Right,
And then he says, okay, like 3.5 feet, he says,
but new construction is supposed to sign it, correct?
5, that's what we're here to give him. A variance. He prefers to be 3.5.
We can vary for garages as close as a foot to the property line, so 3.5 to us just seems to impact the anywhere near as much.
We don't let a new structure drain water onto the neighbors,
Mhm.
okay? Because somewhere in the law, I read one time that you're not supposed to drain more water off onto your property than your neighbor's property than you used to before.
Correct.
Okay, so the drip edge has to be for his property. Okay, the 3.5 feet, see, the problem is in Ottawa, there's an awful lot of long, narrow lots.
Mhm.
And you really can't stop somebody, I mean, we don't feel you should really stop somebody from doing something that was there for 100 years, and he's just putting it back. Okay, it's 3.5 feet, most overhangs are about a foot, so the water will hit the ground 2.5 feet from your property line. That's in the west side.
So,
These still-
my conversation.
But if you two get together and run this thing, you find this pin and that pin, if you want to run it out to the front, you know, you found the side yard, and it's going on the existing foundation, you should be able to tell that it's all within the property line. Now, if it was gonna be over the property line, well, then you have something to really, you know, talk about.
Like I said, I'm not out to derail this project, I just want to make sure well within his lot line as he's indicated in his paperwork.
And then you just, they gotta build it without damaging your property. I mean, that,
The other side of the coin is you've been living together for a long time, being neighbors, no point in fighting about things.
well, that's another thing, you gotta understand that everything may change in 10 years and you might get new neighbors.
Well, that's what I said, I'm putting up a fence myself, so therefore I didn't want to put it in the wrong location, knowing where all this is, so.
Good point. You get a permit.
Oh, that'll be the first thing I do.
If you practice for that, though. If he stakes it out, I don't have a problem.
You have a problem running?
No.
Find a thing and,
Yeah.
I don't hope you don't run into a tree.
Zigzaggy string.
Okay. Vince, do you have any concerns? Did you hear us?
Well, Charlie has a spot survey or any type of survey or any type of documentation establishing at least the pins on this property been presented?
The applicant has got a survey for the front. The back neighbor has a survey for his property, so the pins on the east side that determine Mr. Thrush's point of concern are there. They can run a string line to determine where the property line is. The stakes have been found. So they can run a
Okay.
string line.
So then we can be
Okay.
really exact about where the property line is at. There's no concern, about 3.5 feet off.
Well, that's just the issue, and that's what I was concerned about, because I don't think you can give a variance unless, from the property line, unless you can establish that where that property line is, because it may be more or less than the 3.5 feet, but since you've indicated that they found the pins and we can be 3.5 feet off of that, that's fine. I don't think I have any objections.
Okay. What was your name, sir? We need your name for the record.
Miguel Heredia.
You're gonna have to spell that.
Okay. Miguel is the first name. Heredia, Heredia.
Okay, much better without the mask.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh,
All right.
no. Good.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
Just a point of clarification for the audience and the board. I didn't catch the beginning, but I think you probably mentioned that this was damaged in a storm. In the event of a storm, you could rebuild that exact same structure on that exact same footprint without having to go through anything except for getting a permit. And because he's expanding that, making it a little bit bigger, that's what triggered us to be here tonight. But in a storm situation, we're allowed to allow them to build right on that footprint.
Well, in that case, since he's not getting anywhere near the west property line, it's really no big deal.
Yeah, it's
It
just that
still needs a
expansion-
variance because
The
we're,
No, I get
expansion,
it, yeah.
yeah, the expansion of the square foot, is what required us to be here. If you would have came in and asked to build the exact same thing on the same footprint, we would have issued a permit.
Okay. Mr. Haria, when was your survey?
About 4 years ago.
Okay, Vince, did you hear that? The back
The survey,
neighbor's
yeah, the survey was done 4 years ago.
04.
Okay.
So I'm confident enough that the pins don't move themselves. So,
They're on concrete, mine, all horrible.
well, that one didn't move then. Okay. All righty. Any other questions or anything? Okay, Tom, what are you here for? Just old time's sake?
I'm on Ottawa Avenue, the 1100 block. I just came to support Mike that the addition, the garage that he wants to put is going to enhance his property, especially with the style that he wants to build it to match the home. And that if it didn't come up in the meeting, which it has, that to use the same platform, there's a precedent that said that he could do that. Even with this addition, he'll still need that variance for the addition of the back lot. But I'm just here in support of it. That it would definitely enhance Ottawa Avenue with the construction he wants to do on it. And then precedent has been set.
Okay. I thought you missed it.
I did.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move that we recommend the variance to the city council, be a variance for this project pursuant or dependent upon the determination of the property line running by using a string between those two markers, those 2 points.
Okay. Maximize, how about adding a 1 foot overhang too?
That's a good idea. So 1 foot over. Good idea.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, okay, motion carries. Again, we're just a recommendationary board. So, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn?
No, not yet.
And they always come up with the.
Make a